Hello, everybody. Morning, everybody here in Avashalom, in Beis Shemesh, everybody in YouTube, and on the phone. Yeah, on the phone, and YouTube, and did I say it already? Time? We are in Bava Metzia. We have to recap. We have to restart, go back a little bit, because this brisa that we saw yesterday, we have to have a better look at it. That brisa is a brisa that is going to be with us till like 2 dapim from now. So we better have again a look at this brisa. There's also one mistake which I want to correct, something wrong I said yesterday. Sorry. So it's time to start. Let's go. The line starts with the word detanya. Hitu, actually. The line starts with the word hitu. You have to count like 6 lines from the narrow lines, yeah, the narrow lines of the page. Detanya hasecher se'umnin. This shiur is Leilu Nishma Sovi Moir Menachem Ben Akiva Nachumari Ben Moshe David Zelig Sobas Moshe Rus Bas Shalom El Refuas Naama Bas Rachel Rama El Refuas Aviva Bas Dvar Refuas Chana Bat Sima Nina Chaya Bas Gola Rochel Leilu Nishmas Lea Bas Tomo Lea Bas Chaya Lea Bas Etel Chaya Leilu Nishmas Chana Reisha Bas Ilchana Yitzchak Henya Reisha Bas Ilchana Yitzchak 76b, that's what's called in English. So let's go already. The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, yeah, no further ado. The Hitu es balabais, balabais hita oison. Case number 1, we're talking about craftsmen, but these are poyalim. The poyalim that basically were invited, were asked to come to work. Please come to my house 9 o'clock in the morning to do some work. Or in the examples of the Gemara, you guys are whatever you know how to farm, how to work the field, come to my field, and they did not show up. Or the other way, I told them, the employer told the poyalim, stay home, I don't need you. Last minute. Yeah, in other words, they did not yet go to work, but they were about to. They get a WhatsApp after Shachris as they're rolling their tefillin. No job by me today. The only claim they have is taroimes. In other words, they don't have a real claim in Beis Din. They can be upset with each other, but not more than that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, yeah, I want to explain something. I want to add something now, which we didn't say yesterday. There's a Tosfos here. I wouldn't read all Tosfos inside because I don't think we'll have time. If we have time, we'll read it later. And that is Tosfos asks the question: why isn't it called garmi? Yomi, if you remember, there are 3 levels in Bava Kama. It's mentioned many times. There are 3 levels of nezikin. There's nezik beyadayim, when you do something and you harm someone with your hands, and that you have to pay for in Beis Din. There's groma, which is a very indirect damage, so you don't have to pay for in Beis Din. And there's garmi. Garmi is the middle of the road. Garmi is something which is one of the definitions of garmi is it's a nezik which is not beyadayim, but it's bori hezeka. It's direct. It's for sure going to happen. You're damaging a person clearly, even though you're not touching his body or his objects. So Tosfos claims that this lechoira is a clear nezik. If I know that all these guys who stand, by the junctions, like some of our cousins, if they don't get hired first thing in the morning, or you got them to be hired, and you took them, they were about to be hired by you, and then you're not hiring them, they'll for sure lost all other job opportunity. They have a window of time in the morning. Yeah. Once I told them, you don't have to go to the junction to look for any other work. They stayed home and then went about to go to my field. Then they clearly lost all other opportunities. That's not something which is only toroimus. That's something that the person should pay for the potential work that it surely would have by other people. Says this is true, and chinami. If we know that they really don't have any other potential job and they lost other jobs, you'd have to pay them because it's garmi. However, over here we talk about a reality in which they still have an option to go back to the marketplace and hire themselves, get themselves hired. Now, this brisa is full of b'medvar murim. This brisa, there's an inflation here of b'medvar murim every time we minimize and we qualify what we said before. When is it true that they don't have any claim against the balabais except for just terumas anger? Shaloi holchu. If they didn't yet go to the place, They didn't actually walk or drive to, let's say, the field where he's supposed to, where the work's supposed to be going on. They just, they were told, by WhatsApp, by phone, by email, hey, you guys don't have to go to the workplace, to wherever I told you to go, to my house, to my field. Then we say it's only tar umes. Yeah, again, providing that they didn't lose another job for sure. Let's say the chamorim, the donkey drivers, they're like truck drivers or van drivers. They went, let's say, from a warehouse to my house. They went to the warehouse in order to bring tvua, to bring wheat, barley, cereals, and they didn't find it there. They already actually went, they did something physical to go to the place where they're supposed to find work as agreed with the employer. Or poyalin umotzu sodek shehilacha. Remember this case. Let's say the poyalim, these are people that are meant to work the field, to plow the field. They come and they find the field to be wet and moist. And moist field is not something that you can work with very well. It's not the field that they were imagining that they can work and till and plow. Yeah, and he should have told them. We assumed that the balabas should have told them that the field is wet. Now we lost work because of you. Then Noisan Schor Misholem, just like Tosfos says, that's another example of what Tosfos was saying. That's Garmi. He has to pay them in full. Why does he have to pay them a full day's work? Because Poyalim gets paid for what? For their time. You lost our time. You basically wasted our time, and our time is money, as opposed to a kablan, which gets paid per job, per project. They get paid per hour, per day, per time, and therefore now you wasted our time. We surely lost another job meanwhile. Pay us a full day's wage. However, first wide line, aval, again an exception. What do we mean when we say a full day's work? There's a full day's work and there's a full day's work, yeah? There's a day's work of a high-tech genius and the day's work of a shomer bitachon, of a security guy. What's the difference? Which means a person, the donkey driver, who drove all the way to the storage room and saw, oh, it's empty, there's nothing to take. He's calling the balabais all furious. Balabais says, I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you. Da, 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 da. Oh, then what? I wasted a day's work. That's true. I have to pay you if I'm the employer. However, it's not like you drove back with a donkey heavy, laden with all kinds of merchandise. You came back with a truck, with a donkey empty. It's not so hard, which means I'm going to pay you like someone who did a very easy job. Yeah, that's always what's called poel botel. In other words, every worker wouldn't mind a day off if you get paid less and he would work less. That amount of money is what the employer has to pay them, or the non-employer. A person who is a person who, yeah, at the end of the day came to the field. Hey, there's no work. The field is not arable, is not workable. It's too wet. It's too this, and therefore, if he is not actually doing anything, he sits there half a day complaining about the boss. But then you know what? He takes a Gemara, hopefully, or a smartphone, not hopefully, drinking his coffee and not doing anything. He has a day off. So the Balbais has to pay him for the time that he wasted, but because Lamais is not doing work, he's getting paid much less. That's many, many times we see this concept. Bamed Dvar Memurim. Oh, this Bamed Dvar Memurim is different. If this was a flow chart, now we have a new branch in the flow chart. Bamed Dvar Memurim now talks about Chablonim. Up until now, we spoke about Poyalim. What's the difference, Rabbi, between a Poyal and a Kablan? A Poyal is a person who is what? Is a person who gets paid per hour. A Kablan gets paid per project, for the actual, for the creation of what he does. Now we're going to talk about the creators, the Kablonim, who get paid per project. When is it? Let's say I got someone to come to my house and sew some kind of garment or weave some kind of cloth, fabric. Now, all of a sudden I call them and I say, I'm sorry, I don't need you. Job canceled. So what do we say? They can be upset with me, be angry with me, not say nice things about my daughter in Shidduchim, Chas v'Shalom, yeah, but they can't really take me to Beis Din. Yeah, just their oimus. Yeah. By the way, they cannot say Lashon Hara about me or about that employer. But Lamaisa, yeah, they can be angry. But when is that true? Shelo yitchilu b'melocha. Shelo yitchilu b'melocha means as long as they didn't start working. Aval, in other words, by the poyalim, we talk about what? About coming to the field and losing time, losing a customer. By the umnin, by the kablonim, yeah, going to my house or not going to my house is not a factor because they're not being paid for their time; they're being paid for work, for actually doing something constructive. If they didn't start sewing yet, they didn't start baking the cake, they didn't start doing whichever project that is, then we say, oh, it's just that the room is your starting point is when you start working. We are going back, by the way, now we are reviewing Ayin Vav Amud Beis. We're in the second wide line of Ayin Vav Amud Beis. If those kablonin started actually to tailor the suit, to sew the dress, shamin lahen masha osu. Then what do? Very simple. I have to assess, I have to gauge what they did. What do you mean? Ketzad. What do you mean I have to assess what they did and pay them accordingly? Ketzad. How is that? Kiblu kama likza b'shnei sloim. Yeah. Let's say they got kama, a kilometer of what? Wheat. I tell them, listen, guys, I'm not paying for your time. I don't care if you do it in 2 minutes or 2 days. But I now have a what? A kilometer of kama of wheat that's growing, that's that's upright, that's connected to the ground, and you have to harvest it, yeah, for the wages of 2 sloim. How many dinorim are in a sela? Very good. 4. Very nice. 4. What? Okay, because you remember from yesterday. שלקיב לכמה לקצר בשני סלויים. חצו חציה וניחו חציה. Yeah, they only did half a kilometer. How much should they be paid? 1 sela. Okay, very nice. Beged leroig b'shnei sloim. They got the beged, the fabric to weave for 2 sloim. Yeah, I don't know, 2 meters of weaving for 2 sloim. Orgu chetziu v'nichu chetzio. They did half, and then halfway through, they said, okay, goodbye, we're going home. They abandoned the work. They left me high and dry. In this case, the workers, yeah? It works both ways. Now we're focusing, because we always focus about both cases. Now we're focusing on them leaving the employer, the person, what? Up the gum tree. Yeah, high and dry. That's what I said yesterday in the lurch. Yeah. Oh, we don't say they don't get anything, right? And we're going, by the way, this Bryce is one of these Bryces will be elaborated on for a few more dapim. Very good. We don't say they don't get anything. Why? Shomin lenes masha osu. Also, we're going to see Reb Shloim another chiddush. If I closed with them, as they say, if I decided to sloim, right, and then and then in the middle of their work the price changed, we still stick to the old price. So let's say I decided with them 2 sloim for the entire job. They did half the job. We give them whatever. We give them the half the job. Whatever happens. Now we're going to come to the chiddush. All the chiddushim will be explained in the Gemara. Now comes the big machlokas tanoim. Now I'm stuck. I'm the owner. I'm the one who really need a new dress for my wife. For what? For 2 sloim. After 1 seller, which is half a dress, that did the first part of the dress, they went to Acapulco, ran away, and then what? And then they left me behind. Right? I need another person to complete the other half of the dress. Now, the new people, for whichever reason, there could be different reasons to how to interpret Rashi. Lamaisa, the new people come and say, us to do half a job? Not a seller. We asked for 6 dinarim. Either prices went up, or as we know, craftsmen would not come to your house for a small job unless you pay them more. For such a job, just to do half of what somebody else started, I'm only, don't be, no, I'm not 1 seller. I'm going for a seller and a half, right? Oh, so I originally planned to what? To spend 2 sloim on the entire dress. All of a sudden, I have to pay 1 seller to the first guys and a seller and a half to the second guys. That's 2.5 sloim. Who's going to absorb the difference? Not like you think. Noisenland seller. No, you give the first guy seller still, and you give the second one a seller and a half. Which means Tanakama, this opinion believes that the poyalim, which are really not poyalim here, the umnin, have the same din of a poil, and because they're allowed to abandon the job in the middle of the job, that's a chiddush which we saw and we'll see later. even kablonim. That's a big chiddush. Therefore, they have the right to do that. Yeah, because kilib bnei Yisrael lavodim v'lo avodim lavodim. We saw last week's parsha. Yeah, a Jew is never enslaved to another Jew. He can left him high and dry in the middle. It's a big chiddush, and therefore they can claim the half that they did, regardless to the fact that the employer, yeah, that the person that actually ordered the job will have to pay 1.5. That's not like we saw in the Mishnah. I know you're giving me faces. Very good. Or alternatively, finish your job and then you get the original 2 sloim. Of course, the question is what's the chiddush? The Gemara will discuss that too. Obviously, if they finish the job, they'll get 2 sloim and not more. That was the original agreement. The Gemara later will say what the chiddush is. Now, ve'im sela. Now comes something which seems to be completely not mechudesh and very simple. Im sela, noisan lem sela. Let's say the second group of workers that came to the rescue, super rescuers came and did the second half of the dress and completed it. If they require sela, then I pay the first one sela. 1 + 1 = 2. You may say, what's the chiddush? We know 1 + 1 = 2 since we're 3 years old. Maybe 2. But Lamaisa, the Gemara will explain exactly that there is a chiddush over here. But in general, what did we actually say now? That if poelim, not poelim, if even kablonim left in the middle, they have the right to do so, to be fully paid for their half, even though the employer, even though the person commissioning the job, the one commissioning the job, still has to pay 1.5 to the second one. Yeah, that is what we say according to Tanakama. Not like our Mishnah said. Rabbi Doisa. Rabbi Doisa is a supporter of our Mishnah. Rabbi Doisa, Omer, no. Shomin len mashe osid leosois. Rabbi Dosa says, no, you have to assess to the first guys what the future brings, what the future brings to them, which means, shisha dinorim. Let's say now I look at the entire job and I say, hey, wait a second, what's going on here? The whole job together is how much? I paid 1 sela. If I pay 1 sela to the first guys who left me high and dry, and 6 dinorim, how much is 6 dinorim in sloim? Sela and a half. 4 dinar plus 2, then I'll be losing. I don't have to be the loser here. As we say in Hebrew, Frayel, they left me. Says Rabbi Doisa, you're right, Mr. Commissioning guy, Mr. Employer. Noisalem shekel. You give them half a sela. Shekel or 2 zuzim, half a sela. In other words, the workers who left me high and dry in the gum tree and all these words in the lurch, those who left and they're not supposed to leave me in the middle of the day, they have to absorb the difference, and instead of paying them sela, I'll pay them half a sela. I don't have to pay 1 dime more than the entire job that I originally planned, which is 2 sloim. So if the second guys are asking for sela and half, and they have the right to, the first guys who left me high and dry, they'll only get half a sela, which is a shekel. Oy, igmar malachtan vitlu shnei sloim. Again, what's the chiddush of the question? Obviously, if you guys want to continue work like we originally planned, b'vakasha, continue the work and do the whole work for 2 sloim and get 2 sloim. Chiddush is waiting later on. What's the chiddush? Dim sela, no sela. Of course, clearly, if there is sela involved, which means if the second people ask only for sela, meaning nothing changed, then sela for the first ones, sela for the second ones, 1 + 1 = 2, and the chiddush will be explained. Now, I want to correct something, but not now, but later. Let's finish the Bryce and then I'll be very happy to hear your questions. Another when is it true that, if you noticed, according to Tanakama, the first guys lost what? Nothing. The first guys left me high and dry. That's not nice, right? And what? I still pay them what they were supposed to be getting in full, half of what they were supposed to get in full, even though I had to pay more for the second guys, right? According to Abdoisa, they lost a little bit. They lost, I have to look at the whole project together. 2 sloim, half for the first one, 1.5 for the second one. Okay, very nice. But the first ones are not losing big time. What do you mean big time? Let's see now the next case. When is it true that at the end of the day, I only pay 2 sloim for either 1 or 2 of them? Bedover she'ein ovud. Up until now was Dover Shein Ovud. What's Dover Shein Ovud? As we said in the Mishnah, and you know it from Halacha, Dover Shein Ovud means something that is not urgent, not time sensitive. That's Dover Shein Ovud. You got someone to sew a dress for your wife, to tailor a dress for your wife. When is the chasana? In 4 months' time. How long it takes to sew the dress? 3-4 days. I don't know, with all the spitzalach whatever. It's not so urgent. Yeah. In other words, conceptually, you have time. You're left high and dry. You're very angry. You're not happy with them, but you have enough time. You have days, even a week or two, to look for other workers. Those other workers will ask you for a seller or seller and a half. So that's what you should do. Have patience and look for other workers and don't make the first one lose big time. Aval b'dover ovud. Oh, you remember the example. I like happy examples. Chasana, yes, simchas. Let's say your daughter is wearing her white dress, the white gown, and the chassan is all excited, and the holy is there, and it's about 2 hours to the chasana, and the band, the band call you and say, sorry, we're canceling. Ah, nice. So can you wait and say tomorrow? What do you mean tomorrow? The cater, the whole, the chos and the collar here now. That is a very, very urgent, time sensitive is a very, very gentle word to describe the situation. Can you imagine? Yeah. Bedover ha'ovud, meaning something that cannot wait, logically, and they stood him up, the first guys. Soicher aleinu matan, like we saw in the Mishnah, then we go all the way. Yeah, we now, I wouldn't say against, but we now harshly go, and the Balabais can do almost whatever he wants, meaning either Soicher Alein. Soicher Alein, meaning who's going to come now 2 hours before Chassan to set up a band, yeah, for, let's say the price is, I don't know the prices, 5,000 shekels. He calls someone, come right now. How much would he charge for an express job? 10,000, 15,000 right now to get all my workers, all my thing, all my band. What are you talking about? That's very, very express job. So what do? You call the express job guy who may ask 4 or 5 times more. That's not my exaggeration. That's what the Gemara says later. And who's going to pay for that band? The first ones. Those who stood me up last moment, knowing that this is really urgent for right now, and they all of a sudden decided to take the holiday in Cyprus, then what, or wherever that is, then I have every right in the world to get other people urgently because I cannot wait. What do you mean wait? The chassan is now. Yeah. The Mishnah says the Levaya is now. He's not going to die tomorrow. He died now. What do you want me to do? Then you need the funeral service now. Where are you guys? Yeah. And therefore he can hire other people for much more expensive price, as opposed to in the ratio was a different sell and half. This is big numbers, and the ones who's going to end up paying are the first ones, and they deserved it. I saw the Shulchan Aruch. I'm not yet in the halacha stage. I saw Shulchan Aruch that if it's oinus, it's different. I'm not going to the details. If you get a phone call that a guy's I don't know relative is very, very sick, is dying, that's a different story. I'm not going to details of what the halacha should be then. That's a different story. That's not the story here. Here's a story of we're on holiday, we don't feel like it, we don't like your vibes. It's not justifiable reason. Yeah. Then we go all against them, right? Now, not against them. We just we're for the balabais. The poor guy is stuck. Give me a second. Oy matan, or you can mislead them. He's halachically allowed to mislead them. Im ikesh tispatel ketzad matan. How do you actually mislead them? Omer lehen. You guys are not happy with the arrangement. I told you one seller. I decided, I pre-decided with you one seller to play the wedding. Oh, I understand when you want a holiday in Cyprus because one seller is not worth it for you. Go with lose time. Come take double. Yeah, he's misleading them. He's what? He's attracting them with a trap. He's telling them 5,000 shekels. Oh, yeah, I'll give you 10,000. Not like we said. And then how much does he pay them in the end? 5,000. One seller. He pays them the original price. Why is he allowed to lie to them? Because they like, not because they lied to him, because he's really, really stuck and they don't have any halachic justifiable reasons. They're causing him a real hefsed. That's garmi. What they're doing is definitely like garmi. How much can he hire? For how much can he hire other people and then ask them to pay? Adar boim v'chamishim zuz. Wow. Which means originally we spoke about 4 or 5 zuzim. 10 times more. Yeah, let's say I order an orchestra. Oh, I ordered a band. Okay, not an orchestra. I ordered a band for 5 zuz for the Tochte Chasana for my daughter's wedding. Stood me up last minute. I can't wait for tomorrow. The Chassan is today. I'm sorry. The Chassan collar all there. Starry-eyed, yeah. And what? And the only other person who's coming is Yaakov Shmeki. I don't know how much he charges. I don't know, $1 billion for the Chasana. Yeah, I don't know, much more. Yeah. So then I get shweki, and they'll have to pay for shweki. Yeah. Okay, Lipa Schmelzer, whoever. Yeah. They'll have to pay for the Choshev singer. Why? Because at the end of the day, we explain why. And therefore, even 10 times more than the original or more. And the Shulchan Aruch said 10 times more. I don't know if it's Dafka 10 times or any price, but even a much, much higher price can be charged. I can get a nicer orchestra. It's one of these chasanas you saw, the bed became good, the very fancy thing. But at the end of the day, they'll have to pay for it because it's their fault in simple language there, for sure, Garmi. Now, let's finish the brisa. One more line. When is it true that we're being relatively machmir? Yeah. And we say that what? We say that he's going to get more expensive people. If they tell you, hi, you're in Cyprus, and that's it, and it's a dover oved, and there are no other workers to do the job. Which means, let's say they told him, listen, Rabbi, we are on the way to Cyprus. We are sorry that we changed the plans. We know that your daughter is getting married in 2 hours' time, but we know Reuven and Shimon who can do a job as good as we. They direct him to other people. Oh, and he can get those other people are available. It's not what he prefers. It's not what he prefers. Yeah. So the Mishnah says, the Brisa says, En lo lenela toroimis. I really like the music of Mesamchim. Mesamchim last moment call me. We're on holiday. We're in the airport. Yeah. But you have instead of Asa Mesamchim, you have the Mezamrim. Okay, Mezamrim are really good. I'm not so crazy over the Mezamrim, but as long as they give me something decent that's close to them and the Mezamrim are available, then I have Toroimus. It's really not what I was looking for. I was looking for something different. But at the end of the day, we are talking about something which is only Toroimus because they do have the other option. And at the end of the day, the event will take place with another band in my example. Okay, time for questions. Before we continue, break news. I made a mistake yesterday. Not a very fatal mistake, but a mistake nevertheless, because I reviewed the Gemara again last night. I told you yesterday, in the case of the agent who misrepresented the guy, the employer, remember? What did we say? Let's say the original person said, I want workers for 4 zuz per day. Came Mr. I call him the Kochelefele, the Macher, and he told them that the original guy, the employer, wants how much? 3. They pay only 3. And at the end of the day, yeah, they get 3. Only Toroimis. Why Toroimis? They agreed to 3. They know they could have done 4. It's annoying. We know that the employer could have and wanted to originally give us 4. They can be angry. That's what we said, and that's true. Who are they angry with? I said that they're angry with Balabais. It's not true. They're not angry with the Balabais because the Balabais knew he didn't know any better. The Balabais said 3. What do you want from him? He said 4. I'm sorry. They're angry with the agent because the agent actually is the one who made them indirectly lose. It's not Mamish Garmi, but they said Al Tim the Toiv Olive. In other words, he's a rich guy, he's a wealthy guy, or he's a guy who was intending on giving us 4. You lowered our price without gaining anything. You're a Stoimnik. Yeah, you made us lose potential money, and that is something which was potentially stored for us, meant for us by the Balabais. They're angry with the agent, not with Balabais, because the agent knew that he was supposed to be 4 and he lowered it to 3. And he's not gaining anything, he's not making money of them. Yeah, Lamaisa, but he's being an echs, as we say. Yeah, you knew we could have made 4 and you lowered it to 3 without getting anything. It's not something to take you to Beis Din, but you're not a nice guy. That's Altim Natad Mibolov. Okay, that was yesterday. Now we're done with the Brisa. And we're going to now analyze the Brisa for a good few dapim, nice and slow. Every part of the Brisa, Be'ezus Hashem, we'll break it down to pieces and we'll analyze and explain the whole thing, Be'ezus Hashem. Tani Tanakamei de Rav. Okay, one of the Meroim taught this Brisa to Rav. Very nice. And what did he tell Rav? He started quoting the Brisa in front of Rav. What did he say? He said what the Brisa says. If the workers already came to the field, They took their time and effort, mainly time. They took the time. They're not going to be hired today. They already came to your field, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. the one who commissions the job, and you, the employer, and they came and found the field to be wet and not workable. Then he has to pay them misholem. He has to pay them in full. Omerle, then Rav responded to the Moira who said the Brisa and said, Chavivi Omar, what's Chavivi? My uncle, my beloved uncle, because the uncle of Rav was Rav Chia. Rav Chia was Rav's beloved uncle. Rav Chia is the one who in Sanhedrin Daf Hey Amud Aleph in the bottom, it says there that Rav Chia asked Rebbe, Yudanossi, to give smicha to Rav. He said, look, my nephew is going to Bavel to do kiruv, to Chutzlaretz, like Ner Lelef, yeah? Yeah. He told Rav he's going to Bavel, give him smicha, and Rebbe gave him smicha, okay? And the other cases, it was nifter, it was very sad. Rav had warm relationship with Reb Chia, the uncle. Chavivi Omar, now by Reb Chia, by the way, you also have to know another fact about Reb Chia. Reb Chia is the master of brises. Just like Rebbe is the one who edited the Mishnayos, Reb Chia and Reb Oishia, many times it's mentioned in the end of Chulin, and many, many times, they are the masters of brisa. Yeah? So now Rav is listening to this Amoira telling him this brisa, that if the poilim came to my field and the field is wet and it's such a disappointment for them, then I have to pay them in full. Amarle Chavivi Omar, my uncle would say, Ilu anohavoi, if I was the field owner who messed them up, I wouldn't have given them the full wages of hard-working people. I would give them the kapoil botel, the kapoil that has to walk around and just, look after the field. And you're telling me that they have to get the schar in full? Mapitom, why should they pay them in full? It's true that the Balabais misled them, but they didn't do a proper job of hard-working job to pay for the whole thing. Frag the Gemara, why is Rebbe Chia confronting the Brisa? That is what the Brisa said. V'alok tani. It says the exact next line in the Mishnah says, in the Brisa, the Brisa says that the wages that are given to a donkey driver who comes with an empty donkey is way less than the full donkey. A worker that works hard and sweats gets much more than a worker that just sits there with a coffee and watches the field. So why are you arguing with the Brisa? Rebbe quoting your uncle Reb Chia. At the end of the day, the Brisa itself said what your uncle said. Answers Gemara Enochinami, lo siemu akame. Enochinami, the person quoting the Brisa didn't finish to say the Brisa in front of Rav. Yeah, he told Rav half words. It happens a lot. No, you hear half a Gemara and you're surprised. How can the Gemara say such a thing? Or the other half. Yeah, it's called being misquoted, taken out of context. He took the Brisa out of context. Mimel it created Enochinami. At the end of the day, Rav Chia, Rav, and the Brisa are all friends. They all agreed that Enochinami, the person who was, there was injustice done to him, but on the other hand, he didn't do any serious work. He gets paid for the day, but in the range of payment, he gets the lower kind of payment. Ikadamri, here starts fun. Yes, they told him the whole Brisa. Yes, they did. Disagreement. The Brisa says that how much does the poil get? Kepoil botel. You pay him something, not the 1,000 shekels we're going to pay him. I'll pay him 400. Yeah, like a shomer. And yet, although you heard the entire Brisa, he still argued and he said, V'achik and this is what he said, Rav. Chavivi Omar, my uncle would have said, Yavoya no, if I was there as a balabais, lo v'yevne like klal. Whoa. I would have paid them zero. He came to the field by the balabais' request. The field is wet and muddy and non-workable, and yet I wouldn't give them anything. Why? Soon we'll see in the Gemara, very much elaborated why. Generally speaking, we say it's their bad luck. It's their fault. Maybe very surprised, right? Soon we'll explain it. The Atamat Kipol Botel, you say that the gate get paid part of the payment Kipol Botel? No. Rav Chia is at odds with the Brisa. Elakasha. It's difficult. Why is it difficult? It's not so easy to say Rav Chia is arguing the Brisa. Why? Because Rav Chia is the master of Brisas. So who is the one who Rav Chia is the certified Brisa? You know what the rule says? A Brisa not quoted by Rav Chia and Rabbi Shia is not a real Brisa. Yeah, it's like a person who has PhD from University of Kuchka Puchka. It's not a real PhD. Lavdil, yeah? You need PhD from, yeah. In other words, it's not a real, what? Cambridge, Oxford, of course. So we have British people here, very nice. Elakasha. So at the end of the day, it's difficult. Achloikasha. Now we're going to reconcile the Brisa and Rabbi Chia. And what are we going to say? Yeah, what are we going to say? That depends on. Ha, the sire le'are mi de urta, ha de lo sire le'are mi urta. That needs a lot of explanation, which means imagine yourself the following scenario. I'll translate and then I'll explain. One case is the balabais sire le'are mi de urta. The balabais was responsible. He took the poilim. I want to stress Rashi says, Mechavus Nana had a whole issue about it. Rashi says Balabais was very responsible. What does a responsible person do before he makes aliyah? Pilot trip. What do you do before an operation? A pre-op, right? You always have a preparation for something. Before you marry a girl, you have a few dates. You prepare yourself for what's going on. Then who's to blame if things don't go right? You prepared yourself and you're responsible. You say, okay, from what I've seen in those week or two, I think Israel is good. I think the operation is good. I think the girl, whatever is good. Yeah. Oh, let's say Baal Abais is the one who actually took the workers on a trip the night before that morning they're supposed to start working. Yeah, come to me Monday morning to start working. Sunday night we're gonna have how do you call that in nice English? A preparatory trip to the field to see the situation. You guys are the experts. You're the farmers. You know. Let me know if Monday morning, you can actually come. And they did that. They looked, they gauged, they saw the land. It was their responsibility to see if the land is wet, or they should have made the cheshbon that maybe it's going to rain through the night. They see the weather coming, right? Or at least guess, right, before things happen. If they chose to come Monday morning, still, they took the responsibility. It's their fault. Yeah. If you did the preparatory thing and then things don't work out, you only have yourself to blame. Therefore, we say he doesn't have to pay them anything, and that's Rabbi and Rabbi Yoshia. Yeah. In other words, if they were and Balabais took them there, the Balabais taking them there. Listen to what I'm saying. That shirks off responsibility from him. I showed you the situation the best I can, pretty close before the beginning of work. You said yes, we can manage with that field. Now, like a kablan comes to your house to fix something. I see the hole there. I see the pipe there. I can manage. If he says he can manage, that's it. If he comes a day later, if there are problems, he should have foreseen the problem as a professional. And if he didn't, it's their fault. If they came to the field and they saw the field is wet, he could say, the field is wet. You should have seen it yesterday. You should have seen the situation already. Yeah. You saw it raining through the night. You saw rain. Well, you saw the rain. It's the same city. Why did you come? You came. It showed that you're willing to work with a wet field. Then I'm not going to pay you anything. You agreed to that. Then it's your bad muzzle, your lack of preparation, which you should have had. The lost army were told. However, if he did not take them on a trip, they have no idea. They get a text message saying, what? Come to my field tomorrow. They sometimes, the Meforshim say, they don't even know which field. They don't know anything. If Balabai says, you come to one of my fields tomorrow, they have no way to know if it's wet, dry, good, or bad. Good, bad, ugly, or nice. They have no idea. And therefore, in such a situation, you did not prepare them. You're basically telling them, come to my field and I will pay you 1,000 shekels, means whatever happens, I'll pay you 1,000 shekels. It was wet at the end of the day. You have to pay them because you're responsible, because you did not do anything preparatory on your side, Mr. Balabais. Therefore, it's your responsibility. You basically told them, I'll pay them whatever happens, and therefore you have to pay them at least part of the job. And this concept is actually mentioned by Rava both ways, with or without the Saira, is mentioned by Rava. Says Rava, Hi man the Ogar Agiri Larifka, a person who hired Agiri, hired people. He hired those who get hired. The poilim, what's Rivka? I saw it yesterday. Rivka with the fay is to plow or to hoe. The also mitra umali maya. At night, in the middle of the night, all of it got wet. It's full of water, and you can't work like that. If he took them on a preparatory trip before, on a pilot trip the night before, say that the poilim should have known. The poilim saw the situation. They are now given the responsibility. Even though you may ask a question, are they prophets? Did they know rain is going to come? Yes and no, they're not prophets. But Lamaisa, if they were taken to the place and the Balbais says, listen, you guys are the professionals. I'm showing you the field. And if they said yes, they're taking the risk of even if it's going to rain. Symbolically speaking, the fact they stood there and said, yes, we are taking the job, knowing this is a field, knowing it may rain. Never rained in your life. You know it may rain, and you still took the job. It's your responsibility, guys. And if you still come to the job, it means you take full responsibility, which means I have zero responsibility and I'll pay you zero. Like Rabchia. But, yeah, lo sayre le'arei me'urta, said the Baal Habayis, v'yoiv lukepol botel. If he did not take them on a pilot trip, if he did not take them to show them the field, then it's a hefsed of the Baal Habayis. Why? The Baal Habayis basically is telling them they don't know which field, what field. Maybe it's a rainy area, wet area. They have no idea what's going on. They're going to, they're being led on a wild goose chase. In such a case, who is responsible if it all of a sudden is wet? The Baal Habayis. Because the Baal Habayis is the one who says, whatever happens, I'm going to pay you. He didn't say it, but the mere fact is not preparing them shows that whatever happens, I'm in charge and I'll have to pay you. We're going to have now more and more cases of misunderstanding between balabais and workers and how those things express themselves in halacha. Now, a slightly different case. A person, I'm sorry, again, the Zoom is not so good. Yeah, Rava says a person hired people, what's ledavla? To irrigate the field. Now, how are they supposed to irrigate the field? Let's say they're supposed to take buckets and, fill the buckets and irrigate the field. Mitra. All of a sudden, Baruch Hashem, it rained. Now, usually when it rains, it's very nice. They're very unhappy because the work is redundant. We don't need you anymore. HaKadosh Baruch Hu already gave rain. The rain is falling down. And your work became unnecessary. He made redundant. Said the poilim. The ones who lost, we don't have to be paid anything in the poilim. Why? Why the poilim? Hey, what's the difference between this case and the previous case? I'll tell you what the difference is. In the previous case, we said there is somebody who took responsibility. The land was wet before they came to work. Listen to what I'm telling you. The workers come there 7 o'clock in the morning after an early shachris v'sikin, and they see what? The land is wet. It was wet already at night. So they came to a situation which was all messed up. Whose fault is it? Clearly, either Balabais or them. Depends if they were aware of the situation before they saw it was wet or could be wet or didn't. It's clearly his fault or theirs. Here, there was a regular day, sunny day. It rained in the middle of the day all of a sudden where they were halfway through the work, or not even halfway. I don't know, a few minutes or half an hour after they started working, it rained. They were made redundant very quickly. Yeah. Then it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault, clearly. Why? Nobody could predict it, or everybody could predict it just as much. It's their fault and his fault just the same. So why is it their loss? Why is it their loss? Because Lamaisa, they didn't do any work, right? Is it his fault? No. Why should he pay them? I have to pay people if I misled them, if I did something wrong. Baruch Hashem, Hashem help me. There are a few reasons why one should, dig into his pocket and pay people. Two main reasons we see all over the Torah is either they gave me service or I damaged them directly or indirectly. Nothing happened here. I'm the lawyer. I'm the Torah Rabbani now of who? Of the employer. Did the workers do anything for him? No. Is it his fault that they came and trained all of a sudden? No. So I can take cash out of my pocket to give you what for. It's not their fault. True. It's not their fault. So at the end of the day, they won't pay and he won't pay. If it's nobody's fault, let's leave things as they are. Not exactly but it's similar. Why should I dish out money out of my pocket? Because what? I didn't do anything wrong and he didn't get any service. You didn't do anything wrong either. True. No hard feelings. Goodbye. That's exactly the logic here. It's extremely logical. What? True, but it's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's true that there's an indirect loss here. True. And Tosis talks about it later. But Lamaisa, of course, they lost something. True. But at the end of the day, it's really, really not his fault. It's not their fault either. I don't have to compensate. I didn't bring them to a situation which I should have known better because I know my field. No, I have to continue. And then I'll hear the other question. However, Shlomo is right. Osa Nahara. Let's say that guy, the field owner, has a nice little river right next to his field, and the river overflowed. All of a sudden, then said that the balabais v'yov l'kapol bottle, which means case number two, the balabais knows the way of his field. Rashi says, "Anogas asode." The balabais knows he has some kind of river there or some kind of stream, and sometimes it tends to overflow, and he has ditches and he has all kinds of canals that are ready. That sometimes the field, the river overflows and naturally irrigates the field, and then it became redundant. Oh, that's the Balbai's fault. Why? The Balbais knows the way of his field, and they don't know the way of the field, right? Mimela, when you brought them, you are not so naive, not so innocent, and not so right, Mr. Balabais. You know that sometimes the river overflows and their work is done become redundant, right? You should have told them that, and you didn't. Bad boy. Email, it's your fault. They, on the other hand, why did they come to work? They had no idea. They don't know the field. They have no idea that the field has a river that sometimes goes up and goes and irrigates automatically. They didn't know. They came naively, being sure that they're needed, as opposed to the rain, which is not expected by anybody. The river is expected by him, but not by them. So he'll have to pay them. They didn't do any work for him, so he doesn't pay them 1,000. He pays them 500. He doesn't pay them like irrigating people. He pays them like a pearl bottle, like a person, which is what they did. They ended up sipping coffee all day long. I wish good luck to the high blood pressure and what, and they were hopefully learning and not watching TV. They didn't do anything. You still have to pay them, as Shlomo said, for the loss of time. And because then it's his fault. Yeah, question break. Okay, next case. Vomarove. Oh, another interesting case. Haiman de Oigil Gur Davla. A person got workers to irrigate his field. How? By actually drawing water from a nearby river and going with their buckets and irrigating the field, watering the field. Middle of the day, nobody's fault. The river stopped flowing. Yeah, like in Israel, many rivers in the summer they don't flow, in the winter they do. They used up the water. It dried up. The river dried up. What? Whatever. It became them. Whatever happens, but Lamaisa stopped in the middle of the day. Oh, so now, Eloi Ovid the Posik, if it's not likely that it happens, it's something that never or almost hardly ever happens, very uncommon, then Pseda the Poyalim, right? Then the Poyalim should lose. Why? I am the Balabais. Honestly, I could swear in Beis Din that I did not expect it. It's very rare that this gushing river stops all of a sudden. Yeah, maybe somebody built a dam all of a sudden. I don't know what. It's your loss, because as long as it's not clear that the Balbais' loss, it's their loss. I'm sorry, guys. I brought you here. I have absolutely no idea that my neighbor will stop it or things will stop in the middle. But Ovid the Posik, but let's say the river is likely to stop. If it's very common, it's quite, common that the river is very moody. It's like a computer. Sometimes it stops, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it flows. Then depends. Ibnei Mata, if those workers are local, they are from the same city, people in that city, in that region, they all know the ways of the river. As opposed to the previous case where they don't know that the guy has a river, Bechlal, by the field, here it's a river that sometimes stops and everybody knows it. Then Pseda the Poyalim, you Poyalim don't play the naive to me. Why? You are local just like me in the same village, the same kafar. And you know very well that the river sometimes stops. And you came to work knowing very well that it sometimes happens. So don't give me the dog face and say, hey, it's your fault. You came, now all of a sudden it stopped, and therefore you have no work now to do. I'm not going to pay for the pearl bottle for the half day that you're sitting there with the coffee and the screen. Why? Because you knew that that may happen, and you took the chance upon yourself. Let's say they're not local. They have no idea that the river stops. Therefore, they came being sure, there's a gushing river. We'll work all day long. Let's say promise them 1,000 shekels a day and 500 shekels through the day. It stopped. It's not our fault. You have to pay us. You have to pay us how much? At least like a pearl bottle. Said that the Balabais. The Balabais says to pay. The next case is very gishmak. It's not very easy, but I'll make it easy for you, Be'ezras Hashem. The Omarove says Rove. Interesting case. I hope we'll manage to do it in 6 minutes. I'll tell you to save you a lot of trouble. I'll tell you what the case is. Robert says like this. Let's say a person hired someone. Let's say it's gardening job. Okay. I assume that I don't know, half a kilometer garden have the back of my house. Yeah. I assume that a whole day of gardening, let's say whole day's work is 8 hours, 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. Yeah. I assumed that 8 days, I wrongly assumed. I assessed it wrong. I'm the balabais. I commissioned a job. I called the Reuven the gardener and it says, Reuven the gardener, please come to me. I'm paying you not per project. Remember that. And don't ask me that again. I am paying you like a poil per hour. Come to me to do 8 hours work and I'll pay you 1,000 shekels. Not that I'm paying you 1,000 shekels, whatever happens. I'm paying you per hour. And I assume right from the start that you'll probably do I know you and I know my garden, or so I think. That garden takes 8 hours to do up nicely, to tend to the garden, to add the flowers and trim and this. And I'll pay you 1,000 shekels. Yeah, no, let's say 800 shekels, 100 shekel an hour to make it clearer. And 8 hours will be 800 shekels, all very nice. Okay, let's say that's the job that was given to do. However, I'm correcting myself now. Let's say if that's a job that is one case. What happens if the guy's a gardener, but I told him, come to my garden and do all types of work. I'm asking you now to be in my house and do all kinds of work. Could be gardening, could be cleaning the house, could be looking after my baby. I'm asking you today to be my general helper for all kinds of things, but the guy's a gardener. Listen to this. I hired someone to do jobs for me, all kinds of odd jobs in the house. And what happened? I told him originally do one job, let's say gardening. Oh, the guy, not because he's very diligent, not because of his diligence, because of my wrong assessment, the garden was done not in 8 hours, in 4 hours. He works his regular pace, the gardener. Instead of working 8 hours, I was wrong in my assessment. I'm the balabais. And he did the job in 4 hours. Now he has 4 hours, as we say in Western language, to kill. Wait. Comes the gardener. Before we continue, you have to go walk with baby steps here. Comes the gardener and says, hey, great. How nice. I want to learn for 4 hours. Torah. I'm going to sip my coffee and learn Torah with a smartphone. Oh, very nice. Torah anytime. And I will be paid. I want to be paid in full, not poil bottle, because I was promised 800 shekels. I want 800 shekels at the end of the day, right? I was promised the global number 800. I want my 800. I am doing nothing for the second day. That's his fault. He assessed it wrong. And says the balabais, no. You finished gardening? So clean the house. Don't sit there like an idol, like a tipish. No, I want you now to start sweeping the floor. What's halacha? There are a few cases here. Let's say now the person has the balabais has another job to do, which is easier and lighter than gardening, like sweeping the floor, a bit of sponja. Yohiv lehu. He's supposed to give it to him or to them. By the way, Ellen, don't get excited with plural. It could not one garden, could be 5 people. Doesn't make a difference. Inami de kavosa. Let's say another job which is as easy, kavosa, same level as gardening. Mifaked lehu, he gives it to them. The kashamina lo mifaked lehu. Oh, let's say he doesn't have anything else to do. He finished gardening in his field. He doesn't have another thing to garden or another house to clean. He only has another job, harder job, to move around heavy furniture. He's not allowed to make him do that. Why? I asked you to do what? To do general jobs, and I gave an example gardening. Now you understand my example? So I had in mind gardening or similar, cleaning, washing dishes, but to move heavy furniture, that wasn't in my mind. To start drilling holes, no, that's not something within, and you cannot force me to do that. Workers' rights. Oh, so what does the guy do? Imagine yourself now the gardener. After 4 hours of working and being owed 400 shekels, right? 100 per hour. He's now saying, no, to start drilling high holes and do high-tech work, whatever. No, I wasn't hired for that. He sits sipping his coffee because there's no work of his level or less to be given to who? Still an argument. How much should he be paid for sipping the coffee? It's not so simple to say poel botel. So what did we say? And we say v'nosalem scharan mishalem. Wow, he doesn't get paid for the second half only 200 shekels, which is a lower wage of the idle worker. He gets paid in full, 400 for the morning, 400 for the afternoon, although the afternoon was lazy. Frag the Gemara, am I? Why? What kind of thing is that? I understand that you're wasting his time because now for half a day he can't be hired by other people. They would have given him much more. But still, let's look at Paul Botel. Throughout the entire sugya, we saw that a part that was misled, and it is the Balbais's fault. But the Master, the Balbais didn't get anything from him, and the guy didn't work hard. Why should I pay the 100 shekel an hour that they pay for hard work? I'll pay him 50 an hour because he said they're not doing anything. Says the Gemara, you're right. Me'ikar din, it should be the halacha. Yes, that's the halacha. If a regular worker sits half day and it's my fault and he's idle, he's happy for being idle. How much does an idle worker get? Not 100, gets 50. That's true. However, this particular case is different. Why? Kikama Rava. You know why Rava says what he said, that he get paid in full? We're talking about people here in the town of Mechuza, in the city where Rava was the Rosh Yeshiva and the Dayan. In his city, there were people called the Chlushi. They were people who would dig holes, yeah, or they would schlep heavy things. They were like bodybuilders. The Eloi Avdi Chalshi. If they don't do work, you know, like people do workout, if they don't do something for a few hours, they become weak. In other words, the Rishonim explain they're not enjoying being idle. Normally, what's the idea of a poil botel? How much a guy works very hard in the office, in the field? Mister, how much would you pay for having a very easy day in the office? Not paid. How much would you give up on part of your salary? How much of your salary would you give up on, yeah, in order not to work hard in the computer, but do a much easier job, to just laze around and, you know, do easier office job? Yeah, instead of 150. These people are not happy with that. They're not happy with not working. They need to work. ADHD. They have to do something all the time. And Mimela, in their case, we say no. In their case, we say you have to pay them in full. Why? You brought them to your garden. Yes. You thought mistakenly they'll have to work all day long. Yes. Really took half day. Yes. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. It's more your fault. You misassessed it. You assessed it wrong. Now they're sitting idle. They're not happy with sitting idle. They'd love to do physical work, and you're like caging them. They can't do work by other people because other people won't get them halfway. No way. 12 o'clock lunch. Everybody got their work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So they lost because of you. And them sitting idle is not in their favor. It's a detriment. You merely have to pay them in full. But in a chinami, if there would be a case of regular workers who would love, you know, sipping coffee and watching the Torah for half a day, then in a chinami, the half day they did the hard work, I'll pay them 400. And the rest of the day, I'll pay them 200 because they're gaining from that in the current matzav. Thank you very much. Atzlocha Rabba. Thank you for everybody. Torah Time, YouTube, and Atzlocha Rabba. We're in the middle of Ayin Zayin Amud Aleph. And Be'ezras Hashem, tomorrow there will be more analysis of the Brisa. Thank you, Atzlocha Rabba. Thank you very, very much.